Chip, how familiar were you with William Paul Thomas in this case before today?
Quite a bit. I had some witnesses that were involved in the investigation way back when, so I remain somewhat cognizant of the facts and what was going on.
What was the most revealing aspect of that sentencing hearing today to you?
The most revealing part was how early on he had begun working with the FBI. I didn't realize it had been so long ago.
You saw. Well, let me go back on your response there. What does that tell you?
It tells me that he likely earned what the government afforded him today in their recommendation of a year and a day, that there had been quite a bit of work he had been doing with the agents.
And what does that work translate to you, in your opinion, as the defense attorney in town?
It translates to me that there's probably another shoe to drop somewhere down the line. They have had this information for a long time, and I can't imagine they would have made such a generous recommendation on his sentence if there weren't fruitful proceeds from what he's been working on.
When you look at this type of work that he's been doing, a case like this for 4 years, are you surprised that the shoe hasn't dropped yet?
Very surprised.
I'm sorry, what?
Very surprised the other shoe has not dropped. It begins me some pause as to whether there is going to be another shoe that would drop, because we would have expected something before his sentencing. The feds have a habit of waiting to sentence their original cooperator until all of the other targets have been disposed of.
In most cases, you go after that one guy to lead you to bigger opportunities.
Yes, sir.
Do you expect that shoe to drop, if it ever does drop, to be a significant collar for the feds?
As you lay out, the feds' modus operandi is to move up the chain. The food chain, they want to get to the bigger fish. We would expect someone of a public position, council member, staff, something.
He was close friends with the former mayor.
Understood, and I'm sure that's where they looked initially and several times. I do not believe that other shoe to drop will be our former mayor, Sylvester Turner, but I would not be all that surprised if there were members of public officials that are yet to be identified.
And did you, by any chance, I've been focusing on William Paul because of his actions for quite some time. I don't know if you saw this story. We did a story about him in a Porsche.
Yes.
You saw that report? How do you explain the Porsche, Chip? You just kind of shook your head.
It explains itself. I don't think it would be a leap of faith to wonder if Mr. Paul was involved in this shakedown, if at some points in times in other city business he wasn't receiving gratuities or favors. And Porsche sure seems like a gratuity on a man's salary.
Who was trying to eliminate his partner in that Porsche, the hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines that he accrued in the Houston airport system.
It's what I understand from y'all's report, which is quite troubling given all the noise around his position.
Are you surprised that shoe hasn't dropped, considering what we showed? Other individuals, Chip, who understand federal prosecution said you essentially bow-tied a case for the feds there.
I was somewhat surprised after y'all's report and what I heard today that has not been dealt with. It could be something that the feds were aware of, and as part of his cooperation they saw fit to dispose of within this sentence, or it could be what we've been talking about here, part of another shoe that's yet to drop.
If the feds were aware of that Porsche, that he was in business with a gentleman named Jason Yuan, would they have allowed for that Porsche to be sold, or would that have been kept as evidence?
Well, it would depend on what type of agreement they had. There could have been an agreement to allow him to dispose of that asset.
But it was two people on that title.
Understood. I don't know what shenanigans Mr. Paul or his partner might have partaken in to deal with that aspect, but I could see them covering other indiscretions, for lack of a better word, in a plea deal that does not specifically address those specific allegations, the Porsche.